All right. So far, what you have learned, uh, of course, we start with a database concept and then practical exercises uh, using MySQL. We created a database, created tables, and then populates the data. And we pose multiple meaningful uh, the, the SQL expressions. Um, so all of such things are handled manually within MySQL on command line, right? So we want to expand that a little to um, to use host language. One of the host languages that we are interested in this class is Python. We could do this using Java or C++. But in this class, we're going to use Python because everyone knows Python already. So question is how we can code SQL expression in Python. How my Python can connect the database. Database and Python are two independent the software packages, right? So connection is not really hard nowadays. You may be able to see that, but long time ago, when I teach this type of subject like 20 or 30 years ago, then we should do so many things to get them connected. Now connection is very, very simple. One statement. Okay? So much easier than before. Language, Python language itself, it's not really very hard as the complexities of coding as you first learned Python. When you first learned Python, then of course some basic, sometimes a little advanced coding skills are considered. But the coding that we are doing for SQL expression, it's not really that coding itself is not that much difficult because this is somehow a little bit of SQL and a little bit of Python. Of course, you can expand this full scale of SQL expression and full scale of Python itself, and even a little more. All right. We may try to do that if we have enough time, and also if you are interested in. What kind of topics that we still need to do in our planning? We're going to do SQL embedded Python coding. That's what we are doing. We are going to do this one more week next week. And then maybe a couple of weeks for encoding. We haven't done that, right? Some of the rows and columns, or even a small cell that data contained in that cell may be sensitive, so that you even if your database is hacked, cracked by someone, you still want to keep that data item, any points, securely. One of the last thing that you want to keep your data securely is the encryptions, right? Although it is compromised, data is in someone else's hand, so that person has your data, but if your data is encrypted, then that person may not decrypt it easily, right? It's not impossible, but it's not easy. Okay, those things are left undone. And now another thing that we could do, listen this carefully. If you are interested in, we may do so. We'll set up a VirtualBox, Oracle VirtualBox, and then we will set up 2 or more Linux virtual machine, and then maybe 1 or more of those virtual machine runs MySQL, and other virtual machine wants to access one virtual machine where there is a MySQL and another virtual machines, and your SQL expression is not really expressed and executed within one database, but cross over multiple other databases. Each one may run in different host. Not easy, right? But concept-wise, that is what we need to know eventually, right? Okay. This is what you need to do. In order to connect, there are many modules, packages available, but this is one that we want to use. You need to install MySQL-connector-python. So look at that, the package names, MySQL and Python. In between, connector. Therefore, this package is the package that we are going to use. Okay? So I want you to start that. I think this is, I already tested some here. What I want to, if you are in the Paizo, then within this Paizo you can do pip install mysql connector python, hit enter. In my case, requirements already satisfied, but your case probably not. So you need to install that the packages. So this is it. If you are not using Paizo, then oh, by the way, I need to activate my database. Remember that I usually disabled my database, MySQL, then the red light. So I need to start. So now green light. Are you guys done? All right. The next slide, what we need to do, same thing that we did. Okay, Python code connecting MySQL. We need to connect. Once you have that packages installed, then we have to connect it, and then creating tables, inserting data into tables, and querying against it. So what we're trying to do today, the first two bullets. So first two bullets we're going to do today. And then next two bullets, in part, your homework assignments, but we'll continue to do this next week. So we need to finish up this. In order to connect, that you need to do import MySQL dot connector. Once that MySQL connector Python, once that package is installed, then this module is available so that you can import this. So in my case, if I do this and run it, then import is done. In your code, you need to do this. I'm going to explain this later, okay? So don't worry about this. I'll scroll this down. Yeah, we're now here. So where can we do secure coding? Okay, this is more like when you want to access your database. This connector, MySQL connector, has the method or function called the connect. This connect has some arguments. User, so user equal, and password. Remember the user and password. Host name, host is in our case local.host. Our MySQL runs on the local host. At the same time, my Python runs, right? So we don't need too much about that connection here. But think about this. MySQL runs on the virtual Linux box 1, and MyPython runs on the virtual box 2, and how Python can communicate with MySQL, which is in another virtual box. In that case, this host is not this logical name host, but IP address. That IP address needs to be known. When you run your MySQL on your laptop, I cannot access your MySQL which is running on your laptop because your laptop does not have static IP. Your laptop has only dynamic IP generated from HTTP protocols of router. My IP also generated from there, and then there is a network address translator. That address translator, if does not translate yours or mine to communicate among ourselves within our subnet, then it is impossible. Probably not. Mercy router does not allow. How can we make it allow? Then we need to set up our own Oracle VirtualBox, and then we need to make a special configurations of that network address translator. All right. Then among those virtual boxes running within that virtual router, they can communicate it among themselves. That is, in that case, we have to host here some of the IP address. So my IP address is not the same as yours, but my computer can see yours. Okay. Multiple other things needs to be set up in order to get it done. But anyway, that is. And also, this port number needs to be open from your VirtualBox. Therefore, another VirtualBox may be able to see it. In the database, MolCU, remember that is the database that we worked on, right? So at this point, I need to go to manually to my MySQL. So I want you to get it. So we are going to run manual command line MySQL. At the same time, we're going to make Python code to manipulate my database. So manually, we may be able to see the difference, the creations. Okay. So I am going to activate. I'm going to log in MySQL, USR local MySQL bin MySQL minus user JYOON, password JYOON, in order not to forget. Although it is silly, don't do it if you are running on production MySQL, right? But this is my at this point, I want to see databases, show databases. There is a MolCU, so I want to use MolCU and show tables. By the way, I have so many tables available because I run this. But let's get to that points together. So I'm going to put it here. Actually, what you guys has class, department, enroll, faculty, students. I think those, right? DPT probably. Department and an employee, that is that what you are trying to do? Maybe that is what we are trying to do right now. Okay, so next slide shows, check at the MySQL, see if that is available. And then we need to connect to the database. This slide gives you a pretty good concept. I explained that here. Import MySQL.connector. Assume package is already installed. And the module, this module is available so that we want to import. And the connect. Once this module is imported, then we can invoke a function or method. It takes user information, password, host, port number, databases. So another assumption here, assume the user and its password are already available in your local MySQL. So your username, your password, that is available. In your case, I want you to use that once. And all others, I think, remains the same. Another assumption here is MySQL opens the port. This port number needs to be opened. In your local database, because this is default port number, already opened, so you don't need to worry about. But when you are working on multiple different virtual box, installing different MySQL, and with some other purpose of handling port numbers, then you can assign new port number. So default port number may not be available, but something differently designated port number may be allowed for remote access. Okay, so do this. So my case, I want to do that. So this is my case. So I want to run this. If there is an error, then you may see error here. But my case, I do not have an error. Of course, I already cleaned that up.
Can you zoom in a little? Yeah. Is it possible to like zoom it in?
What about the other side? Oh, it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
Which ones?
Yeah, I don't. Well,
This?
no, I mean it's the pencil, the one in the.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Thank you.
And this slide is available on your Blackboard. You can download it. Let me know if you succeeded. Done? Make sure that you have the same credentials that you created. Your username and password needs to be something that you already created. Probably some of you forgot.
It's not the root user, right?
You can try root once, but I wanted to try your own. Yeah. Try root if you forget. I forgot mine when I prepared this. Was frustrated for a few hours. I was trying to figure out what is my password. I truly remember that in order not to forget, I used the same one for login ID and password. but But I don't remember, is it Jaeyun or Jaeyun 1, Jaeyun 2, Jaeyun 3? I tried it. Jaeyun 1, 2, 3, and then finally, no number.
Oh, you want to create one?
No, I think I got it.
You got it?
I got it wrong.
Okay.
I got it wrong. Actually, I maybe so we did that one.
I think I'm the only one forgot. I'm at that age, so mine is okay. What about you guys? you should you should remember that for next 10 years. Each every single.
That's a great one.
So if you do not have any complaints from your Pfizer, you will be okay. Let me see.
Oh, this is right. I was trying to do.
What is error message? I cannot. What is the error message?
Oh, I have to do
What did it say?
send me this string.
I cannot see. My eyes is so weak because I had
Yeah, you said.
eye surgery.
Sorry.
Oh, it worked. No complaint. Great.
Oh, access denied. What the heck?
No, the password is not correct.
Don't make hard password.
Oh, what? It's the exact same password.
Forget about you are in cybersecurity program, okay? So make it easy. Make your system vulnerable, fully vulnerable.
Oh my god.
That way you can continue to work on it.
Okay, you have it now, so that should work.
Okay, thank you. two separately. One gets correct.
Okay, let's try that.
This one right here.
Let me
And
just-
so grab this one first. I think you know that.
Oh, did you? Okay. I think
The
the
one
root.
that's after the root means can grant access.
Oh, is this your root?
Yeah, this is your.
So it should work then, because we just created the. Well, let's see something. It
Because
says
remember last time when I was trying to do that assignment?
let's see something about it here. Let's be the professor. He's the same username and password.
Yeah, that's right. Change this. I think I have to do it. This guy plays with.
Show me screen.
Hello. So I think I have to remember when I do my assignment. I have to go to the party.
How are you?
And not to give permission.
Okay, that's person 4.
Right, right. I did my root is
Okay. Oh, she's still trying to.
So Lolo, did you get it through?
No.
Not
You
yet?
guys can continue. Yes.
No, this is the first step
Right.
that you have to make it. Otherwise, I'll give you 2 more minutes. So what is the problem right now? Still,
It says access denied.
oh yeah, login and password.
But we changed the
So we
password.
change the login and password.
Try that. We just got it uploaded.
Create new one, new logins.
We rent out privileges. Check to do that out something.
Yeah, grant all privileges star dot star. All privileges on star dot star 2.
Oh, that's right.
Right. How much are you running?
Yay! Okay, let's go home.
Oh my goodness.
um,
Oh, that was the problem.
I think you resolved it a lot quicker than me. I forgot my root password. I forgot my, but I realized that I wrote down the root password somewhere, but I forgot where.
Somewhere.
So I looked up so many different places. Finally, I got that, and so my Python connected to my database. Then, okay, so the issue here, because we are now we are in cybersecurity, right? So your Python code like this, code itself is not necessarily securely protected. It's not encoded, less likely. Therefore, these credentials, user JUN, password JUN, that is sensitive data. You do not want this data hard-coded here, right? So another way that you could do, what is this? Oh, secure. Another thing that you need to do is to do the exceptions. Before we get to that, try and except, right? This is exception handling. Like someone's, if you do this, if you do not have a try and except, then you will have lots of red error messages. I saw your screens, lots of error, the red text. To avoid that, then we need to put the exception handlings. So try colon, inside that code block, you have connect statements. After that, select, which is the same indentation as try. When you have except, then there is a mysql.connect.error. This is a typical error messages from this connect the function. Then you make alias to make it simple. We call it ERR. And then once that error occurs, what we are going to do, that should be in this except code block. In this except code block, if error dot error number is the same as error code dot ER access denied error, this is very familiar to some of you, right? Lulo. Then you can say print something is wrong with your username or password. Then it doesn't print red error text messages, but simple regular print statements. Or else if error number is error code.er bad DB errors. Sometimes you may enter not the correct database names, right? Then the print statements may be database does not exist. Else, then you simply say whatever given from that error messages, print that ERR. So this is to make your Python code more securely. One of the way that you could do for secure software developments is to use exception handlings a lot efficiently at the right positions. All right? So exception handlings, there's a blocks, try and except block, or try raise except block. In this case, in this particular exception handlings, the errors occurs systematically, right? Systematically. This is a connection related errors. So there isn't not much that you can handle in. But some other cases, once you get in your database, then if error occurs, then error is more like content, the database dependent errors. So database that you know already. Then error messages may not be predefined by Python. Error messages may be familiar to you developer. What you need to do then? Then you need to create exceptions. Your own exception, which is called user-defined exception. Have you guys defined user-defined exceptions in your life? When you learned Python? And yeah. For example, 505, when I teach you Python course, we didn't get to that point yet, right? Not enough time. But for example, in undergraduate course, 455, which I teach also, secure and intelligent coding. There are many weeks we're talking about user-defined exceptions. So you define your own exceptions, multiple different exceptions. So create exception. Then exceptions needs to be under the exceptions are already defined in Python. In other words, this is an object-oriented programs. Python is object-oriented programming language. Therefore, exception that you want to create should be under somewhere in that hierarchy. So that is the most important thing that you need to do. So once you create exception and put under one of that hierarchies, then you can raise that exception. If exception is built-in, already defined, then you don't need to raise, because exceptions is automatically raised. Okay, automatically raised, so you don't need to raise block in your case. But if you develop your own exceptions, then you need to specify when this exception needs to be raised. In certain condition, hey, I have to raise this exception. Therefore, your program doesn't go further and raise that exception and go back to that exception handler. That way, additional error or system halt can be avoided. In other words, red error messages may be avoided. Okay, that is something we don't go that further. Okay, but just keep in mind, exception handler is one of the way that you can do secure codings, particularly user-defined exceptions. If you have interviews of coding skills in Python, then they don't really ask you about something basic. They never ask you something that we covered in 505. Sorry. Because that is a basic. Exception handling, that is one thing, okay? A few others, but we don't do much here. Okay, this is one thing, and next one is much more secure. Another secure thing is this. Remember, this is exception handling, right? Here. Oops. Yeah, this is the exception, and I want to make my pen. Oh, this is a pen. Okay, this is a try and except and else. This is something that we are trying to do, right? So this is a connections. Previously, in this connect function, we need to spell out all username is what, the password is what, so many things, right? Remember that in Python we have a double star. Have you seen double star somewhere? Have you used double star? Well, no, I didn't teach you double star. Single star, fine, right. That is arbitrary arguments. Then single star. Double star, yeah, I wrote that in my book, but I do not ask you to purchase it. But anyway, double star. Double star means anything that you want to get this data, that is in the dictionary format. Remember, this is a dictionary. Config equals, and curly braces, open and close. And there are pairs, key and value. I think Debbie probably knows this very well because she just learned this. So user, password, host, port, database, these are all things that we used, right, in the previous slide. But don't forget that, because this is dictionary, it's not equal sign. And also this is a dictionary, user is not understood. But user in this connect slide, user, password, those are the understood. So you don't need to make a quote. If you want to hard code it within that function. But if you want to make it indirectly using dictionary, then key, whatever the key there, user, password, host, port, are not known, so that you have to make it quote. Quote and unquote user, colon, quote and unquote JUN. That is the same as, the value is exactly the same. But the key, only difference here is that should be in quotations. And also match between key and values. Here in the method, we make equal sign. But in dictionary, we don't do equal sign, right? In dictionary, we have colon. That is a delimiter, right? So we follow the dictionary format accurately. This is dictionary format, but by having star, double star, the dictionary, then this guy automatically converts user equal quote JUN unquote, comma, password equal port JUN unquote, and so on and so forth. That can be done automatically once you have this double quote, double star. Little bit of secure, little more secure, right? What else? If you keep this in another file, and you include that file only here within your Pythons, then even if you lose this code, you do not lose your credentials, right? That is the steps that you can improve. This kind of work may be asked in your little bit advanced interviews. Okay. If you do not answer, then they said, "You're so good, we'll let you know." If you go to interviews, then always at the end of interview, you are delighted. Oh, I did good. You know why? Because the interviewer does not have to put them down, right? Encourage them and help them keep good image of our company. So make them happy, usually, right? You are so good. We love you.
맞아.
You did a good job.
네네.
We'll let you know. But they don't really let you know until you contact them. So this kind of things that you have to practice and make sure all detailed mechanisms so that you can answer correctly. Okay. Now, so once you are connected the database, then we need to create database, right? Create database. I want to make this a function, make this in function, call it create database, and the cursor. I'll let you know the cursor later. This is question right now. And try and accept. Now you are familiar with the exception handlings. And then once you have a cursor, this cursor has a function called the execute. Namely, hey, this is the function that I want to execute SQL expression. So this execute function takes, look at this. This is a SQL, right? Create database. What is this? Open and close curly brace. I think Debbie knows this. Debbie, this is an open and close parenthesis and dot format. This is a placeholder. So the real something comes here. So create database and database name. And all others you don't need to worry about. Dot, and then this is the ending of that quote, SQL. So create database, database name. You can do simply create database and database name. And in this case, database is given, DB name. Except, exception handling, MySQL connector dot error. This is alias of this long name. Print, failed creating database. This is a placeholder. Error message, this error message comes into this. Question about this? Then some of you maybe, oh, how can we use this? That is on next slide. So, where is it? Okay. No. Oh, I didn't make how to call this. Okay. Don't worry about it. I do have that here. Create table. Create. Create table. I didn't. Yeah, you can. If you want to call this, cursor needs to be first created. In the next slide, if you see here, the cursor. Okay, once you connect to your database, but actually, when you connect, database is connected, right? So you don't really worry about this create database. Why? Because we already use this. This database name is nothing but this Mercy U. DB underscore name equals Mercy U. That is the database name here. So we assume database is available. But if database is not created earlier, our case database is created, right? So mercy U, that is created. So now we need to create table. So in this create tables, we do this. This is something that we did, right? We already connect. And then this, once you connect, then this connect variable, whatever variable you call, we call CNX, connector. This connection, which is connect, once it is connected, that object has a method called cursor. What is a cursor? Cursor is this. Look at this connect function. Then within your MySQL, let's say this is your MySQL database. Somewhere here, and there is a mercy U. This is a mercy. Mercy U database. In this mercy U database, we have tables and something, right? When you invoke this method, the cursor, within this MySQL database, your cursor points to exact the database that you want to access. So you hold this pointer, and this pointer is called, in our code, cursor. This is a pointer. We call it cursor. Okay? Once you hold that cursor, then this cursor can execute. So dot execute. This execute method can take SQL statements. So create DPT. You can write everything this into this execute directly. Or if this is long, then you can put this separately. So that's what we did here, right? A little more nice, right? So create DPT and create employees. In the DPT, there is a string, quote and unquote. That is the same SQL statements that we are familiar with. So in this, the exercise, I want you to use new tables. Let's say department and employees. So in the department, there is a department ID, DID, and department name, and manager, and primary key is DID. And employees table has an EID, there's an employee ID. Employee name, there's a text. Employee name is simply text, but department name is varchar 7. So in a particular organization, each department name a little more standardized. So not more than 7 characters, for example, right? We don't really say longer name of a department name, then it is inefficiently to communicate. Therefore, we say, hey, make it simple for department name. But employee names, we cannot handle it, right? We take it as is. Call it text. And department, integer. Salary, int. Primary key, employee ID. Foreign key from this employee is DPT. So here DPT integer is the same as DID integer here. This is foreign key. Okay.
Oh.
So here's the thing. Create department and create employees. Which one should be defined first? Why?
So the employees will be under one, or it could be some different department.
There could be many different employees. That's not the reason. What are the reasons? Debbie, do you have an answer?
Makes sense.
I know.
Huh?
It is makes sense.
So tell me what makes you sense.
The department comes before you employ.
Right. So, I mean, according to that definitions, according to the SQLs, if you look at the SQL step strings, then you maybe see some hint. Look at this expression. Look at the foreign key.
Oh, the department is foreign.
Right? So, for example, if we create employee first, supposedly employee, look at that employees, then there is a foreign key, then it should reference to the department's DID, but department yet not defined. How can employees department name, department ID referencing to something not exist, right? So department should be defined first. Not because of department logically first to exist. That's true, right? We don't hire anybody where there is no department. That is true. But yeah, look at that SQL statements. Because of the foreign keys, then the primary key should first exist. And all others still same here. This is a try, and except, then this is the same as before. Let me ask you another things here, which comes from next slide. Manager here, department manager is also an employee, right? Of course, right? So manager here, employee ID, because therefore we have int. Employee ID, that is also integer. Then what should we do here? This manager should be a foreign key, right? So reference to employee ID. Department manager, before that person becomes the manager, that person should be an employees, right? How come anybody who is not yet employees but department managers? Impossible, right? So another reference, foreign key exists here. What happens here in this case then? We have to put here foreign key, employee, the manager references employee EID, right? Then they are referencing cyclic, right? Department has a foreign key manager which reference employee which has foreign key DPT reference back to department. So in order to define this, previously we don't have any foreign key here, then definitely we need to create department first. But anyway, if we want to make this more sense, then manager should also reference to the employee's EID. That is needed. But if we do that before we define, we cannot do anything, right? Because as we create, it gives me an error, it gives me an error. So we cannot do that. So what is the solution? Because I am referring you and you are referring back to me. Who's going to define the first? That goes forever, right? Cyclic. But anyway, we have to do that. If there is a cyclic, then we cut the cyclic, right? Which is manager is not referring at the beginning phase. Like this. And later, what did I say here? What if multiple tables needs to be created by stating in one cursor executes? We have here multiple, right? We create department, create employee, create something, create something, create something. There are so many such things. Then should I say cursor.execute, 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 cursor.execute? If we have 100 of those tables needs to be created, should we do that? Is there another way that we make it more simple? Maybe so. There is the reason I brought this, right? But answer to this little later. Okay, here. What if pre-existing table is what if department? This is something that we are talking about, right? Department manager reference to employee's EID. That's what we are worrying about, right? From the previous slide. What should we do? This is a raising question, right? This is one question. Another question here. Okay, another second question here. What if we have multiple tables? Should we do this? Yes, we could do that. But is there other way that we can make this more simple and nicer? Probably there is, right? That is second issue. Third one. As you do this, you have to, because this is a coding, right? Guess what? If you do codings, then lots of trial and errors, right? Once you do this and try, if there is some error, fix it, retry and retry. What happens? While doing this, if you create table, then at one time you pass this, you create this department, but you have an error in employees. So you fix this employee and rerun this. What happens? Create table, same table again and again, again. It's not possible, right? So you may have lots of errors. You may be ending up some of the embarrassment. So that is something that we have to handle in our codings. So solutions comes here. Improving by using dictionaries of table creation. Okay, this is the answer of this guy's number 2 answer. So what we need to do here, look at this, cursor.execute. How many? We have 2. Previously we have cursor.execute one table, cursor.execute another table, things like that. But here in this case, we didn't change this, but only something here. We created a dictionary now this is another strength of Debbie. Okay, dictionary. We created a dictionary.
Not gonna be an extra professor.
I know, Lulu, you remember that, right? 505. As far as you remember your login ID and password. This is another technique. You look at this. Department dictionary, we created an empty dictionary. And then we need to enter new key and value pairs, right? When you create new element into that dictionary, then this is the key, this is the value, right? So table dict, this is a dictionary name. Within square bracket, this is a key. If this key does not exist, then newly created. Of course, it does not exist, right? So DPT, this is your another variable, your key, DPT. And then this is value. From here, there. We didn't change this, exact same ones. Same thing here, EMP, employee. This is DDL, data definition languages. Same thing here. So you create this as many as tables as you can, right? Very nicely. And in here you have a for loops. For table dictionary here, we have in. So each key in this table dictionary is given key, this is table name, given key, this is dictionary name, then dictionary name, square bracket, key, then it gives me value. So that value is assigned to table description. This is the value, okay? And you can see if that DDL expression is the one that you want to express. This is simply check, print, and then execute that description, which is nothing but these values. So each value for each key is executed. In this way, if you have 100 tables to be created, can be done in the same small for loop expression. This is something that you can improve your code, right? Number 2. And the other one is by adding foreign key constraints. This is something here, right? Number 1, what if department manager reference to employees EID? Remember that here, this employee ID should reference to EID. So this guy referencing the second one referencing the first one. Anyway, to define this, the first one should be defined with no obligations. And then second one have some of the string into the table already defined. So this is a way that we created. Remember here, there is a certain order. But anyway, our issue here, we want to make sure department employees should be first employees. That is the constraints, how we can implement it. Then we make another key and value pair. We call that modifications, okay, and then value. So once we do number 1 and number 2, then we can do modifications. That makes sense, right? We create department table, and then we create employees. So employees refers to department. So far, so good. And then we need to fix it. Go back to the first table. By the way, manager should reference to employees. That's what we do here. Alter table, department. So back to the first table here, department. So add constraints. This is constraints name. Foreign key. Manager. This manager. References. Employee EID. So do this first, second, and third. Then very nicely, all can be defined very clearly and effectively. One thing that I want to say here, if you see here create table, look at this. If not exist, I want you to put here. Remember that the third one here, as we debug this, we keep executing. So once it is created, then next time it gives an error because already created. Why do you want to create it again? It complains you and punch you. So yeah. So to avoid that, you have to say create table. Remember that we usually create table followed by table name, right? In between, we put if not exist. Only that table does not exist, then we want to create it. Otherwise, you do not need to create. There's one thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do is, before you execute this, you clean up. You clean up database. Drop the database. You drop all the database and you execute your Pythons. Then it may be okay, but that is not a good idea. What if we have billions of data already? In order to debug your simple Python code, you drop entire database. How silly it is, right? Don't try to be idiocy, right? So rather than doing that, if not exist, the syntax is this: create table followed by table name, but before you say table name, if not exist that table, then create. Otherwise, don't touch. Yeah, another way is here, drop. Drop table. Same thing here. If you say drop table, you say drop table, table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4. Then what happens? By you doing debug, you said, this doesn't exist. Why you want me to drop? So you may have that issue also, right? So drop table if exist. Drop table, table name. But before that, before specifying that table name, you should say before table if exist the table name. Create table if not exist table name. Look at this. If not exist here. If exist. So if you use that in reasonable ways, then your debugging and trial error of your Python code by including SQL statements, you will be okay. Otherwise, but I think I should not say this to you until you have some of these issues. Hey, I'm stuck somewhere. Without dropping, I cannot do something like that. But yeah. All right. So let's create. All right. Something that we already had. I have here step by step in my coding list. Here, once you have this connection, and this is try and accept. This is also works. When I hit this, then same thing here. Without exception handlings, both are okay. If there, as far as there is no error, then which means no exceptions, they will be fine. Here, the same thing, but I made a dictionary, okay, and then using here double star, the same thing, it works. And then create tables. Now we want to create tables. Look at this. Create tables of manager. There is no manager initially, no reference, no foreign keys. In the employees, DPT reference to the department, which assuming presumably defined with no error. Of course, there is no error because this doesn't rely on any other, only by itself. So create employee tables, and second table employee relies on the first table, and then modify that. In order to do that, look at this. You have to first drop the table name. If exists that table name, drop it. If exists employee department, drop it. And then create department, create employee, and modify this DPT. Okay, so I'm going to, this is from here there, I want to execute it, only this code block, execute it. It says cannot drop employees referenced by foreign key constraints. This is because I already dropped it, right? Already made this. But when I say drop, once you have department, once you have employee tables, look at this. I have department, I have employees. So if you see describe department, describe employees, the keys, employees DID is a primary key, employees manager, there is a foreign key which reference to EID here. There is a primary key. And department in the employees, that is also a foreign key to the DPT. Both are now cyclic. In this case, if you want to drop this, you cannot drop because still this is binding to others. If you want to drop this, that's binding to earlier. That is what this guy says because I said drop. So what I need to do, look at this. Not just to drop this, before you do drop, because they are referencing cyclic, right? How can we fix the cyclic? We need to cut the cyclic, right? Here is what I did. This one, manually execute, alter table department drop. I need to drop first so that cyclic is cut, then I can drop it. I didn't do anything additional from the previous. I only add this. And I execute this. Okay, right? They're all table DPT okay, table employee okay, modif okay. Okay. And then here, I want to make dictionary. And then, yeah. But I think if I run this, I might have an error because it's tables. Because I didn't do here create table if not exist. I didn't put here. So this is a very awkward. So forget about this. Only up to this. This is more perfect code. Okay. So I want you to, but you have to build these skills step by step, as I guided on the slide. If you copy this all, then what happens? Although this is a perfect code, you don't know why we did this and that and that. So many, looks like redundant, but it's not redundant. Question. Now practice time, right? Here is what I want you to practice. I want to post homework assignments, next homework assignment. I realized that I didn't grade homework 3. I'll grade it. Soon as I finish this grading, I'll post homework number 4. So what will be the homework number 4? Homework number 4 is this is not homework number 4 yet, but I'm telling you, I'm going to describe homework number 4, but it looks like this. Insertion. Some of you, oh, I didn't learn how to insert. Don't worry about it. Here, there's a sample, but not exact to that table. This is a sample. This is another case, right? Class, enroll. You know this, right? Insert into class. This is the attributes and values. And 3 values of those. This is somehow skeletons of insertions. And then another, the tuple formats. And this is the value. IASP 525, that is CRN. Title, database security, instructor John. You can make this multiple times, right? Data, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. As you increase the number, then that will be the number of rows, right? And data enroll 1, data enroll 2, data enroll 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that is a student ID, and CRN, IASP 525. You can enter those ones. And real execution, when you see here, execute, add class. This is a class. Insertion this followed by this. So insertion into class that values all in quote, and then you have these values, then together with this is the skeletons, this is the real values. If you execute, then this will be the same effect as insert into class, list of attribute, values, open parenthesis, the value list, close parenthesis. This all together will be the way, the syntax that we learned manually. Same thing here. For add enroll, data enroll 1, you could do this multiple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then finally here, this is one thing that you have to commit. If you do not commit, then it is not saved into your database. While you are doing this, the population executions, then data still available in memory. As far as the memory is available, it is there. If there is not enough memories, then your operating system automatically flush your data into the disk, which is your database. But if you want to make it explicitly in your coding to save it, then you need to say commit. Commit is nothing but, hey, whatever creation, I want to save it. That's a commit. I think, up to this, that is the homework assignments. And when you have done with that homework assignments, then we will do a query expression. This query expression is still same thing. Select from where that once, and then execute query. Then you can execute this. This is somehow how we can display the result of these executions. That's something else which we will do after you complete that homework assignments. So up to this, that will be done. So I want you to do populate about 20 employees and 5 departments. Remember that we made this. Plus, I want to create one more table. I want to say that, but something about project, okay? So this employee is working on this project. Another employee is working on another project. And that project is funded by Department 1 and Department 2, things like that. So this is another tables needs to be created as we created here, right? As we created the tables. So
we cannot insert the values like we used to do in the SQL.
You can fully spell out if you want to. That's fine too. You can split skeleton and data. The beauty of that skeleton and data, in this case, you can reuse this as many as you can. This remains the same, but you can change only this class 1, class 2, class 3. Okay. Otherwise, you have to express everything here. Instead of this, you can put this there, manually. Question? Okay, if you have no question, then this is the end of today's lecture. But if you practice this, it'll take another couple of hours. I want you to do that at home, but I know you don't do it until I ask you to do. So homework assignment will be given to you after I grade my homework. Okay?
So there is no midterm, right?
Oh, no midterm. Only final. I don't really give you homework assignments. I mean the midterms. If it is not 505. 505, I give you the midterm exam because there's too much stuff, not in one direction, right? So many different subjects. So I need to cut at once so that once you know midterm, you may forget. So prepare for the final. Okay, I'll close this lecture and I'll see you next week.
Okay, see you next week. Professor? Professor?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, what time is the 5:05
5
5 o'clock?
today, yeah.